times, and so on. We are now ready to install the overdrive section onto the transmission. As you install the overdrive section onto the transmission, be sure not to damage the governor tubes. Now that the transmission has been assembled, we do have the valve body and solenoids to take a look at. And here I have the solenoids from a 500. This one here is the lockup solenoid, and this one here is the 3/4 shift solenoid. These are both normally open solenoids, which means when they are not energized, oil will enter here and here and will exhaust out the side of the solenoids. So you can check to see if physically these solenoids are correct or working properly by blowing air into the entrance hole and making sure that the passageway to the exhaust hole is clear. Now, inside the connector, as I said before, we have 3 pins on an A500. The middle pin is going to be the power supply to both solenoids. The red wire comes in and splits off and feeds power to both solenoids. Now the front pin is the ground pin for the 3/4 solenoid or overdrive solenoid, and the rear pin is the ground circuit for the lockup solenoid. So if you wanted to check this on the bench, you could supply your own 12 volts to the middle pin, and when you ground the front pin, the 3/4 shift solenoid should close and you should be able to hold pressure and nothing should come out of the exhaust port. Same with the converter clutch solenoid. When you ground the rear pin, this solenoid should close. No air should pass through out the exhaust port. Now these solenoids measure approximately 25 to 35 ohms in resistance at room temperature. So you would put your positive lead to the middle pin and you would put your negative lead to the outside pin, and we can see here that we have 31.7 ohms. On the other solenoid, we also have 31 well, here we have 31.3 ohms. They're both almost identical. Now, if the ohms range is between 25 to 35, and one solenoid measures 25 ohms and another measures 35 ohms, even though they're within specifications, the two are so far away from each other that the solenoids would not be trusted. So you would have to replace the solenoids. The resistance value should be almost the same at room temperature with these two solenoids. Now, with the valve body, there's only one thing I want to bring to your attention, and that is the 3/4 timing valve. This valve is often depicted in manuals as being installed into the valve body, where the valve goes in first and then the spring. But the proper installation is the spring first into the bore here, and the valve with the stem going into the spring, and the last land goes towards the cover plate. That is the correct assembly of your 3/4 timing valve. Since the parking rod is so long, it could make installation of the valve body difficult. So you could remove the E-clip that mounts the parking rod to the valve body and slide the parking rod down into the extension housing till you get to the parking pawl. Take a pair of pliers and rotate the output shaft until the parking rod pops into place. Now, with the parking rod installed, you would carefully take your valve body, lubricate your solenoid assembly, and carefully lay the valve body into place. Then you can reach down, pick up your parking rod, and with a pair of needle nose pliers, you can carefully slip the E-clip into place, and now your valve body is easily installed. Now that the valve body is installed, you can make an adjustment to the low reverse band by breaking the locking nut loose and tightening the adjusting strut down to 72 inch-pounds and backing the strut off 4 complete turns and then locking the nut. Then the filter is ready to be installed, and you want to be sure that your solenoid wires are routed correctly so as not to pinch these wires during the installation of the filter. Now we're ready to install the pan. Now that our pan is on, we are now ready to install the neutral safety switch. And we can make an adjustment to the intermediate band by breaking the locking